Hi, I'm Eleanor Meyerhofer, a native Californian designer and digital strategist. In October of 1999, a few years after graduating from design school, I flew from San Francisco to Munich with a fistful of Deutschmarks, a dial-up connection, and an extremely vague plan. 20 plus years later, after a 10-year stint at a global agency, freelancing, and launching 2 online businesses, I'm still here. Now I'm talking to other expat business owners to share knowledge, stories, and inspiration for other non-Germans running businesses in Germany. So I am here with Gitanjali. Did I do that right?
Yeah.
Gitanjali.
Gitanjali.
Sorry, okay, yeah, sorry. And Gitanjali, I am going to kick off with the question I ask everybody in this podcast, which is, can you tell me the 2-minute story of how you ended up in Germany?
Of how I ended up in Germany. Wow.
Yeah.
I came to Germany almost 10 years ago through a string of coincidences, I feel. I say even today, because I kind of already had a great job and I had already finished a master's degree and everything. And then I kind of had the idea, hey, what if I decided to study again? And that's how I started researching. And then things kind of fell into place. I applied for a scholarship and I got it. I had a week to submit the application. And then I got the visa. I did my German exam. Like everything really just fell into place. And that's how I came to Germany. And I did a degree in international politics from the University of Göttingen, where I had no idea what the university was like. It was a very standard German degree in politics. And and I ended up there. And then after my degree, I moved to Berlin in search of work, as most people end up doing. And then I just kind of ended up staying.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so you are originally from
India.
yeah.
Mhm.
And what made you decide on Germany?
I had learned, like, I started learning German almost 20 years ago. Because my entire family had like some sort of work connection to Germany. And like my father had been coming here because he had clients. Then my sister came here to study. So there was always a bit of a connection. So I had been here on a visit when I was 18. And after that visit, during which I ended up learning quite a bit of German just on the go from my sister's friends and from people that I met, I went back to India and I decided to learn German. And I started learning German. And then, the question obviously came up, what are you going to do with the German when you now know the language? And I kind of got recruited straight from the Goethe Institute to become a translator at Bosch, where I worked for a little over 2 years. And so I was kind of constantly in touch with the language. And I kept coming back to Germany because of these connections that I'd mentioned to you. And then, this question was always in the air. Should I come to Germany to work? Should I come to Germany to study? What should I do? Should I do anything at all? Or should I just be happy with the fact that, I know German and I have a job that lets me explore that side and live a little bit of, to practice my German and so on. And then, as I said, like this whole question came up about, okay, maybe I can study here and do a second master's degree. And that's how it kind of all fell into place. And like when people ask me why I learned German, I always say it's because the Alliance Française was too far away from where I lived. And the Goethe Institute was really close by. That was like very, very practical approach. And I thought, like back then, I said, yeah, it would be cool to learn a foreign language. And that's how it happened.
Okay. So it wasn't like random. You didn't just throw a dart at a dartboard. So how about you? You had connections here. You had the language. So
Exactly.
that's how it makes sense.
Yes. And I think that I would not have done this, what you just mentioned, throwing a dart at the world map. I don't think I would have done that. I feel like me coming to Germany has been coming for a long time. I'd prepared in a sense because I spoke the language. I'd been to Germany a few times. I had, some friends and connections here. So it was not completely alien, foreign to me.
Okay. And when you did your master's in Göttingen, you said, right?
Yeah,
Did you do it in German or English?
in German.
Okay. Oh, wow. Respect.
I was one of two non-native speakers in my year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's very, very impressive.
It was very difficult. It was very difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so you moved to Berlin and you have, I mean, the reason we are talking, you have a business called The Confused Mother.
Yes.
So that sounds a little bit different than from what you studied. So can you tell me how you started it and what it is?
So I have been working in the nonprofit sector for many years. I was working for a German political foundation while in India and also after coming to Berlin, the Heinrich Böll Stiftung. And I was in the international department. Before I joined the Heinrich Böll Stiftung, I was also working for an NGO in the mountains in India. And for a long time, my work has been centered in some way or the other around women, like supporting women, empowering them, working on their financial freedom, helping them build confidence, and so on. And so I was on Elternzeit, my parental leave, after I had my daughter here 3 years ago. And I kept, once you become a mom, you start, doing all the research and trying to figure out what exactly is happening with this child. Why is she behaving like this? Why am I feeling like this? And so on. And then I realized, I'm like, why is nobody talking about so many of these topics that come up? There's so little public discourse about motherhood topics around children, and it's very, very invisible. And so that was kind of the initial driver, saying that I want to make motherhood and these issues more visible. So while you might think that it's disconnected from what I did previously, it's still extremely political work in a different sense, I feel. And that was kind of the first moment in which I thought, okay, I want to do something to support more women. And then I also realized that there are a lot of challenges you have when you don't have a support system in Germany, because you move to a foreign country, in this case, Germany. You may or may not speak the language. You most likely don't know the culture. You most likely don't know the culture around having children and raising them. And then, of course, the land of bureaucracy. There's obviously so much paperwork to take care of. So all of these things kind of came together in my business idea, and I said, this is how I'm going to help other women in a similar situation as I am. Because honestly, my husband, who's German, and we had already done all of this research. What is Elterngeld? What is Mutterschutz? What are the papers that we need to collect? And like I had pages and pages of all of this research already written down and links collected and so on. And everything was very disconnected. And I thought, okay, why not just bring it all together? Make it easy so that when people come to my website, they find essentially all the information that they need related to having a child here in Germany. So there's not just paperwork, there's also questions about like what to do with your children, how to dress them, what food to give them, breastfeeding support, like a lot of different things that that mothers usually struggle with. So that was how I came up with the idea. And then I also thought about, okay, is this the only thing I want to concentrate on, or are there other areas that might be interesting for mothers? And then I again went into like a self-reflection mode, and I realized that what I went through during my Elternzeit, this whole phase of questioning what exactly do I want to do with my life? My priorities have changed. And I was doing such meaningful work before, and still somehow that didn't feel like it was enough. And I said, I want to do something more. I want my work to have more meaning. I want my work to help more people, and preferably more on a local level. Yeah, so that I have like one-on-one interaction, because the projects that I was doing before, they were for people living in Southeast Asia and in South Asia, and it was very, very far removed for me. And so like then I decided, okay, I've been doing workshops and I've been doing job coaching for many years. Let me integrate that into the business as well. And that's how the three aspects of my work came together. So the paperwork and practical support for parents, then the workshops on work-life balance, self-care, communicating with confidence, and then the third is the job coaching.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
And so, um, who, I mean, you kind of said it, but like, who is the kind of ideal person you're reaching out to, or who's the like typical person in Berlin that you found has been really responding and needing your services?
All women who are new to Germany,
Mm-hmm.
new to having a child in Germany, because maybe
Mm-hmm.
there are people who have moved here a few years ago, but they've not had children until just now.
Mm-hmm.
And they are looking for answers to their questions. Most of the people who come to me don't speak German.
Mm-hmm.
And even if some of them do, they still can't, sort out and decipher all of the paperwork. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of scattered information out there, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
misinformation out there as well. And so international mothers who are living in Germany.
So I noticed that your site is it in English and German, or
It's
just
currently only in
in
English.
English?
Hmm.
So did you find there was I'm just curious because I know as an American, I've found like English is kind of the second language here in
Hmm.
Germany.
Yeah.
But did you find there was like a certain breakdown of nationalities? Because I'm just thinking out loud here. But if I think about like, okay, there's a lot of Ukrainian refugees in Germany right now.
Hmm.
Maybe they have their own communities of like people
Yeah.
helping out. But did you find it was just like everybody, like all kinds of people from across the globe?
I've had clients from a lot of different countries.
Mhm.
So, to just give you a brief overview, I've had someone from Mexico, from South Korea, from China, from Ukraine as well, one
Mhm.
family from Russia, American family, South African family. So really, and also
Yeah.
a couple of
Yeah.
Indian families. So really quite mixed. And with the job coaching, also this kind of diversity in backgrounds is represented.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So yeah, people do just search or like
Yeah.
we look for services in English.
Yes, and the fact that I speak fluent German is also helpful because sometimes they have some resources or some documents that they found and they're like, yeah, what does this all mean?
Right.
And then, if it's something that I've never seen before, then I can just quickly translate it for them, which is also something that comes up
Yeah.
in some of the consultations that we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would imagine you also have to stay on top of things as they change because I know
Mhm.
like something just happened with Kindergeld and stuff. And
Exactly. Yeah.
um,
I wrote a blog post and I sent out an email to my subscribers saying that these are the changes that have come since 2024. And I just read the other day that even Kindergeld is going to get changed from next year. I'm not really sure what the changes are, but there's some stuff coming. So yes, you're right. There's always something happening. Then also recently, Elterngeld Digital was introduced, which is the online portal to apply for Elterngeld. And I did my first consultation for since the new changes were introduced in April, and the system has not updated that yet.
oh, okay.
So they are still working on updating the system, this online application for babies that are born after April 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Interesting.
like recently I did a consultation, but we did not fill out the Elterngeld form together. We answered or we discussed a lot of different questions, but we didn't fill out the form yet. That is still coming. So I'm curious to see because this family's baby is coming only later in autumn. So they said we'll do it closer to the date once they collect all the papers and so on. So I'm waiting to see if
Okay.
the system has already picked up the changes yet or not.
Okay. That's
Hmm.
amazing. That is such a valuable service. Um, so I'm wondering, so when you decided you started this business, you got your site up, all that stuff, how did you get the word out? Like how did you find your first clients?
Mm, so I got clients from a lot of different places. I told people in my network that I'm starting out with this business. Like with the day my website launched, I sent out an email to like 30 or 40 of my friends and colleagues and ex-colleagues and so on. And then I started reaching out to some people that I thought might be relevant, that might be interested in maybe collaborating or cooperating on something. I reached out to other family businesses or people working on motherhood topics and asked them if they wanted to write blog posts and recommend each other's services and so on. Social media also, of course, played quite a role. I post semi-regularly on LinkedIn. I used to post very regularly on Instagram, but now I've drastically cut down that.
How come?
um, just to finish that thought, then also
Okay,
Facebook groups, just the Facebook groups
okay.
also have played quite a role because
Right.
I try to answer questions as much as possible. And then whenever the opportunity comes up, I also present some things from my offer. Why I stopped posting so much on Instagram is because I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy posting regularly. And, I used to post a lot of photos of us as a family or also of my daughter, never showing her face from behind or, videos where she's playing or whatever. And I made reels and I posted photos and those are the most popular ones. And I think that, they, that kind of leads to the social media addiction because everyone wants to then get that kind of,
Right.
feedback over and over again. But at some point I said, you know what, I'm not showing her face, but I still don't feel nice about it. So now I completely stopped posting any photos of her. And I just basically cut it down and I said, I'm okay with it. Like if I don't succeed on Instagram, I'm not looking to become an influencer. I'm not looking to get sponsorships because I'm sure it happens to you as well and to everyone out there who's on Instagram nowadays is that you constantly get messages and requests because brands are looking for ambassadors and you have to pay just the postage and then you get some free outfits or free jewelry and free clothes and I don't know whatever else. And then I was just like, this is not something that I'm looking to do. It just didn't feel me. So I stopped posting. Only when there's something new that comes up is when I post, or if I feel like, okay, this is something that I want to put out there. I want to spread, want to inspire the mothers that are following me or, give some updates, give some new information. Like, for example, if I offer any discount codes, then I'll post about that, but nothing else.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually don't get those kinds of offers on Instagram. I completely phone it in. It's all scheduled. Every now and then I'll throw up a story, and I only do it because I have a visual business, so I just kind of have to have a brand. It's like, keep the lights on there.
Right.
But my sister who's in California, she has a business and she grew her following to 10,000 people and she was really Instagram all the time. And she just like broke up with it. She said, it was becoming, she said it was just, she was thinking about it all the time and always felt pressured to post. And she just said, I'm kind of done with it now.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. But so if I hear you correctly, you sort of strategic partners, you reached out to people kind of talking to the same community. Facebook groups are huge for all non-German businesses. I would say we all go into those places. It's easy to find people in a similar circumstances. Some Instagram, and giving presentations and talks. Is there anything you would say was like gave you the most traction, or was it a combination of all of the above?
To be honest, I think I lack the data.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have the data to say like what exactly. I mean, when people reach out to me to book a consultation or something, there's a question in the booking form to ask where you heard about me. So it's either Facebook or referral. Yeah.
Okay. And so you help with people becoming parents, becoming mothers in
Mhm.
Germany, but you also have this career coaching business.
Yes.
So, well, it's the same business, but did
Yes.
you start out saying, I am doing these two things, or did one naturally kind of lead into the other?
Well, the name, The Confused Mother,
Mm-hmm.
is primarily for the consultation and Elterngeld. So I also have tutorials. There are like 2 online tutorials explaining. One is everything related to baby, postpartum, Kindergeld, and so on. And the other one is related to paperwork for parents like Elterngeld, Elternzeit, and so on. So these are 2 online tutorials that I created. And then I also offer the one-on-one consultation for parents who don't want to watch the tutorials, or they have watched the tutorials and then they have more questions after that for their own particular situation. So that was the first thing that the confused mother is kind of directly related to. But on the other hand, the job coaching is also for confused mothers. It's
Mm-hmm.
also for women who are um, out of paid work for a while, and they rethink their priorities, they rethink their careers, their priorities are different, or in some cases also they come here with their spouse, like they come as accompanying spouses,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have a job here, they have a kid, then they're out of work for many years.
Right.
Now they're looking to get back to work because from their home countries they are highly qualified professionals. Or they
Mm-hmm.
say, you know what, like I'm done, my kids are old enough now, they're going to Kita, I have all this time, let's find a good career and look at what my professional goals are. And so that is also another subset of confused mothers that I work with in the job coaching part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
And
I'm
I mean,
Go ahead.
I started it all at the same time. So when you look at my website now, under services, you have 3 things. That's basically how I started with these 3 offers. The workshops I did not offer. So the
Mm-hmm.
coaching and the consultation and tutorials, those started right from the beginning, which is a year and a half ago. And the workshops, I said, I'm not really going to do those so much. I think I must have offered 2 workshops, but I offered a lot of workshops for companies.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is also something that I think I need to rework on my like the communication on that, because I realized that for private paying clients, the workshops are not as interesting as they are potentially for companies. And so far I've not done that many workshops for private clients, more for companies.
What would the workshops for private clients be?
The workshops for private clients would include regaining confidence after your parental
Mm-hmm.
leave, and work-life balance and self-care. Like those
Mm-hmm.
are the 2 main areas that I have found. Because I did a survey before I started the business to make sure that okay, what I'm doing is actually in demand. People need it.
Mm-hmm.
People are willing to pay for it, right? So I did that before I started the business, and these were the topics that came up most because.
Okay.
Yeah, I also have a blog post on my website called Regaining Confidence After Motherhood. And that is one of the most popular blog posts I have so far.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it seems to really, really hit a nerve, and everyone who has read it has, or many people who read it messaged me later saying that, oh my God, you said it. You said it. This is
Yeah.
exactly how I feel, So yeah, clearly there is a very big need there.
And what would the workshop that you give to organizations look like?
I think that these topics on mental health in a certain way, because I'm not a mental health professional, but
Mhm.
I have a very practical approach to solving issues, and also dealing with mental health issues in that sense is to reduce your stress by simplifying your life.
Mhm.
And so building resilience as a parent, work-life balance and self-care, setting boundaries, this is a very big topic that I've also already offered corporate workshops on, which resonate a lot with the companies as well as the employees. And I've also had a lot of non-parents in my workshops, in corporate
Hmm.
workshops, who say
Okay.
that, this is something that is impacting everyone nowadays. and
Mhm.
work-life balance, setting boundaries, how to simplify your life, how to find time for other things beyond work and household chores. This is a topic that's very interesting. Another topic that comes up is the confidence one, communicating
Mhm.
with confidence. This is a workshop that I offered for the first time, I think 4 years ago or 5 years ago. I offered it for the first time. It's a concept that I came up with because these are two of my strengths, communication and confidence.
Mhm.
Because everyone I talk to, they're like, "Oh my God, Gitanjali, how do you like? You look so confident. How do you always, you know?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just do it." And then I spent some time reflecting on where that confidence comes from. And I think that in my case, a lot of it is to do stuff, even though I feel scared and insecure.
Mhm.
And I think that that is something that a lot of people could like they feel like they need it as well. And
Okay.
they've walked out of these workshops saying, wow, I feel better. And even in my job coaching, confidence becomes one of the topics that they want to cover as well. Because, in the beginning of, in the first session of my coaching, I discuss the topics that they want to cover. Because I have a set of topics that I cover in a
Mhm.
long-term coaching. And I always ask them, I said, what are the things that you want to work on? So that we kind of have a checklist at the beginning of the coaching. And at the end, then we can say, okay, how are we doing regarding the checklist? Are we doing what you want to do, what you
Mhm.
want to work on? And confidence is almost every single time a topic that comes up. And the last 3 or
Interesting.
4 clients that I had, um, we did like a reflection at the end of the coaching, and they said, hey, you know what, if my confidence was at a 2 at the beginning of the coaching, right now it's at a 9. And I'm like, wow, that
Wow.
is
Yeah.
that is some serious change. And yeah, so like I realized that this is something that a lot of people struggle with. In my case, I work almost exclusively with women,
Mhm.
so this is a very popular topic amongst women.
Okay. And I'm curious, so giving workshops to organizations versus individual clients, like private clients,
Mhm.
that's a different marketing approach. How did you approach that? Like getting into a corporation, like delivering your workshop at a company versus for a person.
So the corporate workshops, I haven't really started with any kind of acquisition strategy. That's
Okay.
something that I am planning to do now.
Mhm.
Workshops that I offered in the last 1.5 years, I must have offered 8, 9 workshops so
Mhm.
far.
Mhm.
Mm, And these workshops actually came by request. So someone recommended
Ah.
me, and someone saw me on LinkedIn, someone saw me on at some event or something. So through people that I know, and
Mhm.
who said, "Oh yeah, Gitanjali is the right person for that topic."
Okay.
And yeah, so that's how it kind of came about through network.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Good old network.
Important.
So you mentioned confidence. That's like a something that resonates with a lot of people.
Hmm.
But I'm curious what you're seeing in terms of, because I can imagine that is, I mean, I came here on my own and I had a job and
Hmm.
my residence permit and all that stuff before I met my German husband. And so I went through my whole, what am I doing with my life after I had a baby, but I didn't feel like I was here kind of, because of somebody else and I couldn't work and all that stuff. So, what are you finding? What kind of strategies are the women that you work with using to deal with their situation when they're ready to get back into professional life?
A lot of people don't even try.
Okay.
Unfortunately. And these are some of the women that I've actually met over and over again. And then, I try to motivate them to come to me. And I'm like, let's just do one session and see where you are and what you want to do. It doesn't result in anything, because I think that confidence is a
Mhm.
big issue. Imposter syndrome is a big issue. They feel like, no, I've been out of work for so long. How do I even get started?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very big fear and insecurity that people have. Um, there are a lot of women who don't go through this transition.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of women who have great jobs before they become moms, and then they have their ki- child starts going to kita, and then they return to work. And yes, it's difficult and challenging, but they power through somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also that whole set of people. So there's a lot of different people, and there are some people who say, okay, I am ready to take the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And they then are willing to pay for private coaching. And to be honest, I think my coaching programs are so affordable. They are not extremely expensive. When you
Mm-hmm.
see what's out there, like 5,000, 8,000 euros
Mm-hmm.
for a coaching program, I take 3 weeks and 6 weeks, very practical, very hands-on, less than 1,000 euros. It's very, very,
Mm-hmm.
very affordable in my opinion for most people.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, that willingness to pay for a coaching program is also your willingness to actually do something about your situation and change it, which
Mm-hmm.
is where it gets stuck a lot of the times. I
I'm also
also have, I
okay.
also have clients who come to me from the unemployment agency, right? Like, so from the Agentur für Arbeit and
That
for
was my next question.
I have a lot of people coming from there. And, I recently, I wanted to make a LinkedIn post about this, but I never ended up doing it. But I recently spoke to two other coaches, but not like me, but from a different specialization, who said, oh, like with great, like, uh, disdain, they said, I don't want to work with clients from the job center, and and I don't want to work with people from the Agentur für Arbeit. And I actually find those the most rewarding, because those are people who are in survival mode. They are
Mm-hmm.
really desperate to change their situation, and they
Mm-hmm.
are highly motivated. They are so relieved that someone is paying for their coaching. And
Mm-hmm.
they really come to me to each session very motivated. They do the work. They make their notes, they do the exercises, they, actively work with me to find the answers.
Mm-hmm. And let's dig into that a little bit. So I assume are these Germans? I mean, you're fluent in
Not
German,
only.
so or do they send you people that are not comfortable speaking German?
I get some German clients. I've
Uh-huh.
also had German natives coming to me and doing the
Mm-hmm.
coaching in German, because they've reached a level of like B2,
Mm-hmm.
with which you can actually do a coaching in German as well. It may be a bit
Mm-hmm.
slower, but it's possible for sure. And a lot of my coaching is also in English, even from
Mm-hmm.
with clients from the Agentur für Arbeit. They've come here, they've worked for a year or two, and then they become unemployed or they got laid off. A lot of people, this is unfortunately a reality of a lot of mothers going back to work, is that they're not able to join their companies back in the same I don't know, with the same amount of hours or at the same
Right.
position. And then they get fired, let go of,
Yeah.
things like that. And then they end up at the Agentur für Arbeit, and then they ask for coaching. So that's also something that happens.
And how did you, I'm assuming it being Germany, you needs like a special Ausbildung. Like, how did you even get hooked up with the the Agentur für Arbeit? Like,
Again,
yeah.
through network.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I knew someone who was working for this company, and then she introduced me. And initially, they were like, "No, no, we don't need any more coaches." And then after I met the boss, she was like, "Oh my God, we have to have you." And so that's how then I came on board, and I started getting clients. And it's been a pretty steady flow of clients since I started.
I see. So you work with an agency that has the relationships
Yes,
with it.
yes.
So it's
I'm
not
not
like
certified
okay.
myself, because that's a
Okay.
very long and lengthy process, because then I would have to create a new company
Okay.
and
Okay.
go
I
through this
get it.
entire certification process, which takes like a few months, I think like maybe half a year. And
Okay.
then costs also close to 10,000 euros or something.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
it's not my focus area. So I was
Yeah.
happy to just do it this with an agency.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
That makes
Yeah,
sense through
yeah.
an agency. Okay. Okay. Cool. So, um, this is a little bit of a tangent, but
Mhm.
I assume you've become a mother here. It's the only place you've become a
Yes,
mother.
yes.
I It's interesting because you mentioned, like, people come and they have a kid and they don't have any network. I'm from the States where, in my view, there is just no family policy, and it's, like, downright hostile towards families and siblings.
Yeah,
Like, I cannot imagine,
yes.
like, having a baby over there. Like, I don't know how people do it with the money and everything. Do you have any insight, like, when you think about this for yourself,
Hmm.
like, how, and I know it's hard to compare, but how was your experience having a baby here versus, like, in your home country? Do you think?
I think that there are pros and cons to both because in India, you have a very strong support system through relatives and family
Right.
because that's how it's
Mhm.
also historically been. Like if you don't have a midwife, but
Mhm.
you have your mothers, your sisters, your
Mhm.
aunts, your
Mhm. Mhm.
grandparents, and so on, who basically do this work. And then I think that a lot of the tasks of a doula are also covered by, or even the midwife actually, are covered by these women who are like massage specialists in India. And they will come home, they massage the mother, they massage the baby, they wash the baby, wash the mother. So the first, there's a lot of support that's available to mothers in India as well. You get paid leave for half a year. And then a lot of women go back to work because they have their grandparents, like their parents,
Mhm. Mhm.
to help out and take care of the children and so on. So there are definitely a lot of pros to having children in India as well. But I think that and this is also one of the big reasons why I do this is also I say that when you live in Germany as an international person, you may not have the support system of, family
Your
members,
family,
friends,
yeah.
and so on. But the good thing is that Germany offers so much other support in
Mhm.
terms of all the things that are covered by your health insurance. Um, and also these financial benefits and so on. So I say that you don't have a support system, but Germany offers you a lot of support. So let's
Mhm.
make sure you get all of that support so that you can, have at least a little bit of an easy experience. And nowadays, like there are also other businesses that have come up which are such great ones, like for example, postpartum food.
Mhm.
There's a lot of doulas. Doulas are becoming more popular,
Mhm.
and so there's a whole industry developing out of this. Like I think it's picking up even more now because Germany's gotten just that much more international.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great experience here just, right after, and I had my baby. She was born July 1st, so it was, like, the middle of winter, but
Mm.
it was not COVID, which you had that
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
Oh,
I do.
goodness.
I do.
How did
So
you
when I went to the hospital, um, I had actually a very, uh, I don't know, uh, it wasn't the easiest situation.
Mhm.
I was past my due date, bursting at the seams. I went into the hospital to get my final ultrasound, and they said we can't find any amniotic fluid.
Oh god.
So that's why I had to be induced. Now, I don't have any comparison, but I know that in India, usually doctors don't wait past the due date. They usually
Mhm.
will then kind of induce you, or you end up having a C-section. They also mostly do not allow, so to speak, but I don't know if allow is the right word, but they highly discourage using an epidural. It's
Mm.
possible you can get one if you want one, but they discourage it. They say, no, just do it naturally because that is
Mhm.
in the postpartum period, the less stressful version.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, so I had an epidural and yeah, I know, but we were talking about COVID. So
Yeah.
so I had to be admitted into the hospital and then they had to induce the labor and so on. So I spent a night in the hospital. So my labor basically lasted uh, 24 hours almost. And my husband was actually allowed to come into the hospital only right when I went to the Kreissaal,
Mhm.
to the room to deliver. He had to do a COVID rapid test.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came back negative was when he was allowed to come in. When my baby and I were moved to the room, he had to leave.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And yeah, so that was quite intense and crazy. And also, I mean, the postpartum phase was really difficult because that was around the time the Delta wave was going on in India. So
Mm-hmm.
tensions were extremely high. Everyone was terrified. I was obviously terrified. I have this tiny little creature that I want to protect at all
Mm-hmm.
costs. And so, my friends who were so keen to kind of bring us food and come and visit and take care of us and be with us and so on, all of them, I had to say, no, you can only come if you've done a Schnell test because
Yeah.
I'm so scared. I have no idea what can happen. And, when looking at how dramatic the Delta wave was in India at the same time, I was just not willing to risk anything.
Right. Right.
So until the end of the fourth trimester, I was just on edge the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. And then after that, I mean, the reason I asked that, because I just felt like there were so many resources. Like my daughter went to a Tagesmutter at 1, so I
Mhm.
was with her for the whole first year.
Yeah.
But there were like Mutterzentren and nursing groups, and
Mhm.
like I've heard, motherhood can be an isolating experience, but I was like out and about all the time,
Yeah.
at the park, at the groups, doing all the things,
Yeah, it's
the
so
baby
good.
yoga. It was great. It was just a
Yeah.
fantastic experience. But I guess in COVID, you miss all that.
Exactly. That's so nice. I'm so glad you had that because it's something that I desperately wished for, and I'm sure that
Yeah.
all COVID moms went through the same thing. It
Yeah.
was extremely lonely,
Yeah.
extremely isolating. I think my
Yeah.
husband also went a bit crazy because he was like, we can't do stuff. We have
Yeah.
to just do
Yeah.
stuff for ourselves." My oh God, the birth preparation class, the Geburtsvorbereitungskurs, we did it in February or end of Jan. It was -2 degrees. They said we're going to do it in person. We were all sitting there with masks,
Oh God.
with open windows at -2 degrees. Can you
Oh
imagine what
God.
hell it was?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. And then, you're looking at other families wearing masks, and then, you can't connect with anyone on a
Yeah.
on a personal level. Then you just
Mhm.
basically go there, listen, ask questions, and leave. You don't
Yeah.
chance to make friends with anyone. And then even the postnatal recovery, I did it online. It was just, yeah.
Yeah. And how old is your child now?
She's a little over 3.
Okay.
Mm.
And so how are you finding motherhood and child raising, post pandemic in Germany?
Great.
Yeah.
She's such a cool kid. Like, she's such a cool kid. And she's always open to trying new things. I'm always open to trying new things. And we just had our first camping weekend. So we slept
Oh,
in,
wow.
which was so fun for her. And yeah, I mean, she's riding a cycle now, so you can just she's very curious. And I think that for us initially, um it was a very conscious decision that we took, saying that we are going to raise our child to fit our lives and
Mhm.
not the other way around, as far as
Mhm.
it's possible. So,
Mhm.
we include her in all the things that we enjoy doing. We enjoy traveling. We enjoy going out to the park, going for a swim, going to the beer
Mhm.
garden, things like that. And we said, we're going to take her everywhere. And so she's
Mhm.
used to it. She's used to being out. She's used to seeing people, seeing our friends, being the only child amongst a lot of adults. And,
Mhm.
like, that was a very important thing. And I think that we also got lucky in that sense, because I know a lot of parents who would love to do that, but their
Mhm.
kids are so sick or they have colicky babies and then you
Oh,
can't go
yeah.
anywhere with them. You can't go traveling. You can't go to restaurants. You can't be in public because they're just so terrified of like hours of screaming child.
Yeah.
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 So I feel like in that sense, we hit the jackpot. But,
Yeah. Touch wood. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But it's great.
Wrapping.
Yeah. No, I mean, also, I have to say that my husband and I both have the luxury of being able to work part-time, which makes it a lot
Mhm.
easier.
Yeah. Yeah. My after COVID, actually, my husband went down to 80%.
Hmm.
So now he's like back at 90, but he does Fridays. My daughter's 7 now.
Yeah.
So that's just another thing I do feel very grateful about living here. I just
Yeah.
feel like you can have a pretty good standard of life
Hmm.
here. Um with like time for family and other things that would, even though Berlin, Munich, they're expensive cities,
Yeah.
like I feel like we couldn't live this way in the States.
Mm,
Like we would
yeah.
just both have to have like two really high powered corporate
Hmm.
jobs to have the same standard of living.
There was this woman on Instagram who did this comparison between the States and Germany. I don't know if you ever saw that. Like there was I think a newspaper article or something on how she said that you might earn more money in the States,
Mm-hmm.
but and you pay higher taxes in Germany, and what you take home is very little. But
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, you end up saving so much because you're already paying into the health insurance here.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
the States, you have very high deductibles, you have very high premiums, and so you end up paying much more in the US than in Germany. And I think
Yeah.
the same thing applies here between India and Germany as well. So, you might think that you take home a very little low salary, but on the other hand, you have, like in Berlin, you have free Kita. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you don't have such high Kita and school costs like in Munich.
Yeah.
So there are definitely a lot of advantages, and then you also have like these sports associations where children can learn sports and become really experts in whatever sport they decide to play. Um, and I think that even the whole concept of Kita is very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
In India, if you want to send your child to a daycare, it ends up, and a good quality daycare, you have to be willing to shell out a lot of money. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a luxury that only a few people have, right? Look, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them then end up just keeping their kids home until they have to go to school,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because school is mandatory in India.
Yeah. As it is here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, okay, one last question that I noticed on your website, and you said you go into swimming in the mountains, and then we'll wrap up with the final question. But I noticed on your website you said you love the mountains.
Yes, I do.
And you mentioned that when you were still living and working in India, you would go to the mountains a lot. Where in India?
I lived in the mountains as well for a while.
In India?
Yes.
What part of India
So I
is
am
like?
from Pune.
Okay.
And I I think I developed my love for the mountains when I was 13,
Mm-hmm.
when my friend's mom took us hiking in Nepal.
Mm-hmm.
So I did two big treks when I was 13 and 14, and that was where the love for like big mountains,
Yeah.
not like hills.
Okay. Like the
Um,
Himalayas that
yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking.
exactly. So
Yeah.
the Himalayas really in Nepal, and then in India as well. I lived in Ladakh for 1.5 years, and I spent a few months in McLeodganj, which is the lower Himalayas, which is also but like 2,000 meters almost, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I've lived in a few different places and traveled around. But also, I think that people from Pune really love hiking, because we also live close to the hills from Pune, and not the Himalayas, but the Western Ghats, and
Mm-hmm.
those are very popular for hiking as well.
Okay.
Hmm.
And then, so do you go, okay, you're in Berlin, but down here in Bavaria, the
Yeah.
Alps are nearby. Have you done any hiking in Germany?
So we went when my daughter was a couple of months old. We went to the Sächsische Schweiz,
Mm-hmm.
which is just a couple of hours from
Yeah.
here, and so we went a little bit there. And then when she was, I think, 3 months old, 3 or 4 months old, we went to Füssen in Allgäu,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
we climbed up the what was that called? Tegelberg, which is next to Neuschwanstein.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
so
take your word for it. I don't know which mountain
it's
that's.
a mountain. Like we
Yeah.
actually walked all the way up. It's like 1,200 meters, and we went
Uh-huh.
up there, and then we did one or two other small hikes. But that was like the mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that in August that I get to do something else. If I come to Munich, I'm going to get in touch with you.
Okay. Please do.
Do you
Please
also like
do.
hiking?
Okay. So I was born and raised in LA. It took a while. I never would have described myself as an outdoorsy person,
Okay.
but living here, and I've lived here a long time, after the first few years, I was like, okay, up or out. I'm going to like figure out this nature thing. And I did start I do like it now. Like I mean, I don't do it nearly as much now that we had our daughter, but we had friends that had a little hut, and I like getting out into the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And I appreciate, especially in winter, if you can get up into the mountains and get, above the clouds and get
Yeah.
sunshine. I am a city person. I need to live in a city and I need to be in a
Yeah.
city, but I really like living in a city that is close to nature.
Yeah, that's
Like
true. Munich, it really is like that.
yeah. So that's great.
That's something that I miss living in Berlin. I miss being close to the mountains.
Yeah.
Always like a little bit more work
Yeah.
to get anyway. But did you want to ask me anything else about the business?
Yeah. So the last question is just, what advice would you give to anybody or lessons learned you have from starting your business in Germany?
So many
Okay.
lessons. It's really okay. I have to say that starting a business is not for the faint of heart. You have to really have a lot of stamina because it may start slow and take a while to pick up. But I think that the difference between successful and unsuccessful entrepreneurs is the stamina. And I think making a plan and executing that plan is really also quite important, because you need to have goals that you're working towards. You need to have a step-by-step plan and make like small goals initially. Keep it realistic compared, keeping in mind what your life circumstances are. And I think that is what has helped me a lot, because initially also the first 2-3 months I would have run myself into a burnout because I was just, I had no structure because I'd always been employed before. So the structure was already preset, so to speak. And here suddenly I was faced with this like gigantic task of setting up a business. And then I said, I just went haywire until I ended up in bed for like 3 weeks or something, unable to recover. And that's when I said, okay, I need to take a step back. And it unfortunately happened again. So I get carried away. I think I get so excited about my work and I'm so passionate about it. And I feel like, oh my God, I have to help more people. I have to work for more, and so on. And so I think that you have to keep hitting the brakes on yourself, or actually just go slow. It's important because I don't want to do this for just 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. I want to do this forever now. For as long as I'm working, I would like to be doing this work because it is really, really meaningful. So I think that there's a lot of things that I can, a lot of advice I can give and so on. But I think these are the two main things: is really stamina and making a realistic plan that you think you can stick to, recognizing your boundaries and just accepting them and saying, yeah, I have only this much time and this much energy, and that's fine. So like comparing myself to a multi-million-dollar setup is just not useful. Like you can get inspired by them. Right? Like you can draw inspiration from successful entrepreneurs, but there's zero point in comparing yourself to them. So
good advice. Good advice for us all to remember. Pace yourself, don't compare, and keep at it.
I have also I have the privilege of being a mentor in the Exist program. Do you know that? It's for...
Yes, I do. I've seen it.
Yeah. So I have the privilege of mentoring a female entrepreneur there who's also a mom of 2, and so I can like dish out a lot of advice. So if anyone is interested, any of your listeners is interested, you can find me everywhere with my name or with The Confused Mother on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, website. Feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to share whatever I know.
Okay, and that was my last question. And can you just say your full name again, just in case anybody wants to Google you?
Gitanjali More.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It was wonderful talking to you. And maybe I'll see you on your way to the mountains.
I hope so. Thanks so much for having me, Eleanor.
Thanks for listening. You can find this and all other Germany Expat Business Show podcasts at thegermanylist.de. Bye.